Hello, I'm Dee Matalia and welcome to the Gulf Times Today podcast. For our first episode, we thought that since Ramadan's here, we'd try to help those who are fasting during this month achieve a healthy balance. Our guest is Ms. Rania Salman, who is a registered dietitian on a mission to empower individuals with evidence-based knowledge for healthy living. Her dual background in biomedical science and nutrition, in addition to years of hands-on experience in clinical settings, enables her to offer a holistic perspective on health and wellness. Let's get to it. Hi, Rania.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. It's really awful outside, I know.
It's very wet.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, not nice.
So that's London weather for you, isn't it?
What can you say?
Right? So obviously we're talking about fasting in Ramadan,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are millions of Muslims around the world that fast, okay? So it's a very spiritual month. You know, it's a beautiful month for Muslims. But, you know, if we want to start off, right, what is a typical day like? You know, hours, what times? If you can tell us.
So as a Muslim living in the UK, hours are going to differ depending on where you are in the world. But essentially speaking, we fast from dawn up until dusk. You will have, most people will tend to have a pre-dawn meal called suhoor or sahari in some parts of the world. And then you will break your fast whatever time dusk is, and you'll have a meal called iftar. So essentially, depending on where you are in the world, you're going to be fasting from 14 to 20 hours even, which is quite a lot.
That is,
yes.
I mean, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to impact your body quite massively, right? Because all of a sudden your body's like, oh my God, is she on a diet or is she fasting? Like what's going on, you know? So in the beginning, it's obviously a shock, right? And then what happens in the beginning to your body, and then the situation sort of during the month of Ramadan, what happens? Yeah.
So essentially, we would call the fasting during Ramadan. There are different types of fasting. They're not all the same. Mm-hmm. So people might have heard of the 5-2 diet, for example, where you eat a certain amount certain days of the week and then you drop your calories on other days of the week. Have something called intermittent fasting, where you will start eating at a certain point of the day. And then you have something called time restricting fasting, is when you kind of condense the hours of when you eat. Right. And that's probably where Ramadan, or what we fast during Ramadan, that probably most fits in with time restricted. So essentially what happens with your body when you start fasting is it switches the type of fuel you use.
Right.
So usually on a day-to-day basis, we use something called glucose as our energy source, right? It's our preferred source by the brain, and it's really easy for our cells to take it in.
Right.
When you go periods without eating, what happens is your body first taps into your liver stores of glucose. That's called glycogen.
Wow.
So your body starts to break
big words today.
Big words. Starts to tap into our glycogen stores. Eventually, after about 10 to 14 hours of fasting, those glycogen stores will be depleted.
Wow.
And that's when your body starts to break down triglycerides, another big word there.
Learning so much today, huh?
Exactly. Which is essentially just fat, really.
Okay.
Starts to break down your fat stores, and then you switch the energy fuel. So we don't have any more glucose going around to fuel our body.
Right.
We switch to ketone bodies. And that over the period of the month, because we replenish our stores, it's the same thing that actually happens daily. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's a completely prolonged fast that lasts for ages.
Right.
Because when we eat during iftar, we replenish those stores.
Oh, I see.
Right? So the glycogen stores build up again in the liver, and then the next day the same thing happens.
Oh, wow.
It's not like a complete shift where we're just constantly breaking down ketone or fat and then using ketone as an energy source. That's really going to happen when you're in a prolonged fasting state, whereby you don't replenish.
Right. So because it's only 29 to 30 days, it's not a very long
Exactly. And every single day you're replenishing your stores.
Wow. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that it would kind of have like a massive impact, but because it makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, I know you have your opinions on this, but how good is it for the body to fast?
So interestingly, and this is coming from a Muslim myself,
right,
the health benefits of fasting right now are overstated.
Right, okay.
And we have to be really aware of the nuances that exist. I think right now there's an agenda at play to push fasting and push the health benefits of fasting. And I think it's overstated. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but if we are going to practice from an evidence-based perspective, we have to make our patients or anyone we see really aware of the benefits and potentially the neutrality of fasting.
Right.
Ultimately, we're fasting because we're Muslims and for our spiritual reasons.
Yep.
The health benefits might exist, but the reality is the studies are conflicting.
Right.
So you will get these big word coming
Big words,
up.
let's go.
Big word, autophagy.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Autophagy. I'm learning so much today.
Exactly. And, that's a word that gets pulled out a lot.
Okay.
That's a term by which your body basically breaks down damaged parts of our cells and reuses them, kind of like recycling.
Oh, cool.
Right? And a lot of that is being pushed as, fasting is really beneficial because it breaks down all kind of the used parts of your cells and the damaged part of your cells and kind of creates a brand new you.
Right.
And helps with your kind of diabetes, your heart health and whatnot. The problem is a lot of these studies showing the benefits are made on mice. Now, just to make we're not mice.
We're not mice.
Might come as a shocker.
Some of us are not mice, actually.
Exactly.
Some of us are not mice.
Some of us are not mice. So that's the problem. A lot of these studies, the majority of them are done on mice. And you can't always extrapolate that data into humans.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why a lot of drugs, medications we take, a lot of them start on mice and then actually they get discontinued when they get to the human stage. Because it shows actually it's really bad for us. It shows great benefits in the mice and then same thing. So that's why we can't extrapolate all the data. We can say it's got potential. We can say that we need to look into this further and we can try and create studies to compare, really well-designed studies. But right now I feel like loads of people that don't have any background in nutrition are pushing this agenda and it's not correct. And I think the nuances need to be discussed. Again, other things that are just a bit conflicting, helping with weight loss, for example. There are some studies that's big one there.
Does it help with weight loss? I mean, so I think because it's the main push that it's healthy is to get people to actually fast and not think, oh my God, I'm actually ruining my body or my health.
Exactly.
So it's good that I think that it's maybe 29, 30 days. So it's not like a
exactly.
long-term thing.
Exactly.
But maybe people use it as well as a weight loss.
Exactly. And look, the reality is it's not going to destroy or ruin your health by any means. It's just that these positive effects are probably a bit overstated right now.
Right. Yeah.
The second thing with the weight loss, it's very individual. So some people will lose weight. Some people will actually gain weight. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone telling you they've gained weight.
Yes, a lot of people are like, I've gained so much weight.
Exactly.
I think it's because they eat at night.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I feel like, especially in the UK and probably in Europe, our fasting window is getting smaller. In December, we're going to, whenever it comes back to December, we'll be breaking our fast at 4 p.m. And we'll be having breakfast at 7 a.m. anyway. So you're not really in any kind of a calorie deficit. If you're just going to eat the same things, you've got the opportunity to eat as you normally would.
Right.
If you're eating suhoor, for example, that's breakfast. If you're having your ftoor, that's more or less maybe lunch, and then you're probably going to have another snack before you go to sleep. Are you really going to be losing weight like that?
Yeah, that's true.
So even when studies have really looked into it, actually they showed that even those that did manage to lose weight during Ramadan, they put that weight back on within a month.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's just conflicting.
Exactly. So it's conflicting. Exactly.
Obviously, like, we know what it does to the body now. Big words, big things coming out today. But what food, for example, should people really avoid during Ramadan?
Yeah. I would say the key thing you want to do when you're fasting is keep your energy levels up there, right?
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
exactly.
that.
Okay, sorry.
So we're going to talk about that. So maybe, just specifically kind of what foods don't go near those foods.
I don't come at it from that angle.
Really?
I never say don't come near any food. Are you coming at it from a health perspective?
Yeah. Like, so for example, avoid maybe having certain foods. It could, I don't know how you see it, but is there anything? Maybe there isn't.
There isn't.
For you, because you're the expert.
For me, there isn't. There isn't anything you have to avoid. It's more if you want to. That's why I came at it from the energy levels, because if your goal during Ramadan is obviously you want to fast, but you want to have your energy, you've got a long day at work, there are certain foods in that perspective that you might want to avoid.
Such as
kind of white carbs.
Okay.
because what happens with white carbs, so things like white pasta, white bread, any kind of white starchy carb, they get broken down. So remember we spoke about the glucose,
Yes.
big words
Yes.
earlier. It gets broken down into sugar really quickly.
Right.
So it gets released into your bloodstream and gives you that quick burst of energy, and then your blood sugars drop.
Okay.
Whereas when you switch to something like a whole grain carb,
Right.
that release of sugar is delayed.
Okay. I
So
see.
you've got that release of sugar over a much longer period of time. You don't have that quick peak. You've just got a nice steady rise of your sugar. You keep energetic for a bit longer, and then it drops back down.
So how can we sort of maintain energy levels?
So
Fasting.
when you're fasting, so
When-
there are some key things that I kind of advise people
Yeah.
to have, for example.
Right.
So the thing is, make the switch to a whole grain carb.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be all the time, but if you want that energy, like if you feel like your energy levels drop, that's the key area.
Because you've got people like you go to work, you can't really do, you can't like skip life. You've got to do everything you do on a daily basis.
Exactly.
So sort of what kind of foods would you kind of,
Yeah.
maybe like in suhoor you can have something, during iftar you can have something that kind of balances that out.
Exactly. So during suhoor, for example, I would always advise you to have the 3 main macronutrients. So macronutrients are things like protein, fat, and carbohydrates.
Right.
We want all of them because they all work in different ways. So we've got the carbs to provide us with the glucose, the energy, but we want the whole grain carbs so that we've got prolonged energy, right? Protein helps to keep you full for longer.
Right.
So again, you want some protein. So I find a lot of people, what they do is they might just have, I don't know, some cornflakes, for example, or
Okay.
something like that. If energy is something that is a goal for you and you want to keep full for longer, then you really want to balance your meal. So like I said, the protein, the carbs, and having some kind of a healthy fat as well, again, helps keep you full for longer,
Right.
slows down the release of carbs as well. So they all work together.
I love this.
Yeah.
Learning so much today.
I know.
Learning so much today. That's really great.
Yeah.
I think also one thing that a lot of people might be sort of wondering about is sort of exercise when it comes in, right? And you know, lots of people they love to go to the gym, and there's people who don't like to go to the gym or exercise, or maybe they get inspired during Ramadan and they're like, you know what, I'm going to exercise.
You get those. Never exercise in the year. Ramadan.
What are you doing?
Time to start running.
So it's like, for those people who want to do that,
Yeah.
do you think what are the best times to do it? For example, do you do it after iftar or what, you know, because you're probably like,
Again, I think it's really individual here.
right, okay,
Just be aware when you're exercising, if it's a sport that is quite intense,
Right.
you will probably get dehydrated if you haven't had any fluids and you're not going to have any fluids. Some people manage it.
I'd probably faint.
Yeah, we sort of remember the World Cup a few years ago when it was like height of summer and the footballers were running around for 90 minutes.
How did they do that?
I've no idea.
How did they do that?
Idea.
Honestly, I'm so shocked.
But I think it's individual. If you want that energy, it depends what your goals are as
Right,
well.
that's
If you're
true.
trying to build muscle, for example,
Yeah.
you might want to have that weight training session near an eating window,
Right, okay,
right?
right. 'Cause then you can exercise and then go and eat.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Make those gains, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Not me, definitely not me.
I think there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Do what works for you.
Yeah.
If
Just
you're the
don't
kind of-
doing it.
Don't, yeah. Exactly. But do what works for you. If you're trying to build muscle, probably around an eating window is probably better for you, for your goals.
Right.
If it's just for fun and something to do, then do it whenever you want, whenever you feel good.
That's true.
Some people, again, might feel, better before or after an eating window, so they've got that energy to keep them going.
I feel like I'd want to store that energy.
I know, but
the next day,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
What's going on? Some people are different, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, it's very
It's so
personal.
individual.
Obviously, eating during suhoor, right? That's a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
Because some people eat and some people don't
Exactly.
eat. But you know, what should you probably eat during suhoor? And like if you've got a suhoor recipe that you might want to share with us, that'd be great.
Yeah. So what I want to highlight here is, as Muslims, we're not just one kind of entity. We're from like diverse cultural backgrounds,
Very
right?
true.
We've got all our favourite food and whatnot. Obviously, I'm speaking from the UK here.
Yeah,
So we've got the
absolutely.
foods that we tend to eat for breakfast.
Absolutely.
So what I would say is really have whatever food you normally have,
Right.
whatever cultural background you're from, but make sure you include the 3 macronutrients.
Yeah.
So whether it's a carb, whatever carb it is, have it, switch to the whole grain version.
Okay.
That's the key. Protein, have some kind of protein, whether it's chicken breast or egg or beans or chickpeas, whatever it is, have that. Make sure it's part of the meal. And then some kind of healthy fat, whether it's some nuts, for example, whether it's some avocado, whether it's some olives, whatever it is, make sure those are the 3 components.
Yeah.
For me, what I like to do generally is, even like, if you can be bothered to get up and make like an egg omelette, for example.
Yeah.
The egg, you got the protein with the eggs, for example.
Yep.
I like to chuck in a load of veg.
Right.
You've got that fibre there, keep it full for longer.
That's true.
And then some kind of carb. I usually have some whole grain, 1 slice of whole grain toast.
Nice.
That's one example. That's
just all done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Easy peasy.
And then for iftar, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What should you kind of include in your iftar? Maybe like keys, like you've just mentioned with the suhoor.
Exactly the same.
Exactly
thing.
the same.
You literally, it's exactly the same thing. Again, you want to
have some Lebanese food because
some fattoush.
Some fattoush.
Is iftar without fattoush?
Right, that's true. That's very true. And when you get invited to people's homes, they're like, they want to feed you like fattoush and some soup, and you're like, it's great, you know.
That's exactly what I have. You've
So
literally
this
just
is- So this is what you're
the lentil soup.
Okay.
The yellow one.
All right.
Yeah.
You're so Lebanese.
I am.
So Lebanese.
Stereotype.
So that's what you'd recommend.
Literally yellow lentil soup,
which is absolutely
fattoush.
delicious.
It is
delicious.
It's so good. The fattoush, and then a main. So you've got the salad done, you've got the fibre done, you've got the lentil soup, you've got some fluids there as well from the lentil soup.
You've got people that literally feast on a whole different level.
Yeah.
So that is
and then you've got some kind of a main, whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Rice, chicken,
that's perfect.
meat, whatever.
One question that I'm probably thinking about, because, you know, for Muslims who are fasting, obviously they have friends and they have people that they work with and stuff like that. How can they support and respect Muslims during Ramadan?
Yeah. I think it's really nice when you work in a workplace where, you know, it's not a Muslim company, but they have procedures in place, or they ask you if they know you are Muslim.
Yep.
It'd be really nice if your manager could come and ask, because everyone's very different. Again, for example, I don't wake up for suhoor.
Right.
So for me, I don't necessarily have that kind of really tired in the morning. I can have meetings in the morning, whatever. Some people, for example, kind of wake up to pray for a long time or stay at night praying. Right. Or we'll have, you know, the suhoor and it will be a prolonged meal, for example. And maybe it's not best for them to start work really early that morning, or maybe if we can switch meetings to later on, that would be really nice. So actually, if a manager can just have a chat with their... Just know
highlight who's fasting and how they can help.
Exactly, and ask them, because, you know, it's not going to be the same for 2 people.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's I would really respect that.
Yeah.
So I think just ask that person what they would like facilitated, and see if it can be flexible.
And if people come to work with like warming up food and it smells amazing, or bring their cup of coffee to, you know, next, or like, do you want to, you can't even drink water. Like, I mean, I've heard this before.
Exactly.
I've heard people say to people who are fasting, like,
yeah,
you don't drink any water.
Yeah.
It's like, these people are literally fasting.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So I think just be more...
Exactly.
Being
more aware of that, again, would be nice.
And maybe invite people over when it's time to eat, like sunset.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to eat anything really before that.
Yeah, exactly.
Invite them.
Exactly. And, you know, if you're having socials around Ramadan time, why aren't you coming?
Yeah, well, I'm fasting, you know, kind of thing. So I think to respect them, you'd have to kind of work.
Exactly.
If they're truly your friend and you want them over, you know, you never know. Rania, some tips and advice you'd share with our viewers, maybe they're something that we've missed out, haven't asked you about, but maybe anything.
My advice would be, it's from a nutrition perspective, not necessarily just Ramadan.
Yes.
Just make sure that whoever you're taking your advice from when it comes to nutrition is someone who knows what they're talking about, someone who is qualified. A lot of thing that's happening in social media right now is you're getting people that are not qualified, that have titles in other areas.
Absolutely.
Such as medical doctor or some random health guru speaking about nutrition.
Yeah.
Even a nutritionist.
Well, they've got like doctor, but people are like, you're not actually a doctor. Like, why?
No, they could be a medical doctor. They could really be a doctor.
Right, but there's some people that go by doctor.
I know, they're functional doctor.
You know, it's
different.
Like,
it's really bad. And the reality is, as a dietitian, not just a nutritionist, I am held accountable for my words.
Absolutely.
By my registered body. You, Dima, you can go on this podcast, call yourself a nutritionist, say whatever you want. There is literally no repercussion for you.
People will just love
and
it.
loads of people do it.
I'm not, guys. Telling you the truth here. That's why I brought an expert on.
Same thing with medical doctors. Medical doctors are experts in their field. They're experts in medicine. They get no nutrition training in their degree.
Oh, I see.
So when you're going to a medical doctor for nutrition advice, or this medical doctor is flouting nutrition advice, you're going to someone that has really, unless they've done extra training, the majority haven't, really has no clue what they're talking. They're using their title as an authority.
Absolutely.
And that's a bit dangerous.
That's very helpful for people, I think to know
exactly.
Go to the right person,
exactly.
not just someone who's trying to be a doctor that doesn't know anything. Okay, you heard it here. Keep in mind. Sadly, we've come to the end of our conversation. I've genuinely enjoyed it. I hope our viewers have enjoyed it. We've spoken about, what to eat, what not to eat. All the advice that you've given us today has been amazing. We've spoken about, a healthy balance, try to have this healthy balance. But it's amazing that it's only 29, 30 days, because if it's more than that, I think it'd be very difficult for people to kind of continue. Obviously, some great tips and advice from Rania, so I really appreciate that. We appreciate that. I hope our viewers have enjoyed this episode. If you're someone who is really looking for a healthy change, maybe this is the invitation. To make those changes.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're someone who wants to know more or kind of incorporate some of what we said today, would be amazing as well. I want to wish you and our viewers a blessed month ahead. Honestly, have a great time, and we're all supporting you. And I'm Dima, your host. I'll see you next time. Bye.